Hogg busted in huge scam after his nasty spring break secret comes out, won't see him again. Parkland student activist leader David Hogg's 15 minutes of fame are about up and it can't come a moment too soon. People are growing incredibly tired of this petulant child who is basking in the glory of his notoriety, causing more problems than actually solving them like he claims. He seemingly came out of nowhere, pretending to be a constitutional scholar at just 17 years old, particularly when it comes to the Second Amendment. He's become the face against the NRA, and President Trump is demanding Americans be disarmed, and destroys esteemed journalists' jobs who dare say anything about him after he attacks them. He's drunk on an odd sense of power he doesn't deserve, but is now about to experience the world's worst hangover after shilling hard for the left's cause and feeling famous for it. He thought he had the power over people and can tell adults and leaders what they have to do, but just got hit hard with the perfect karma that he had coming. Hogg is certainly enjoying the notoriety of being America's current biggest activist, which comes with some great perks, like a great spring break he probably wouldn't have had if he hadn't capitalized on 17 of his classmates and school staff being killed. The only Parkland student survivors Americans hear from are Hogg and his crew of sudden anti-gun activists, which is obviously no coincidence. However, there were several hundred others at that school during the massacre who also lived to talk about what they saw, not just on that day, but after. One notorious outspoken student on the other side of the aisle is Kyle Kashuv, who is routinely silenced, especially when it comes to how Hogg spent his spring break. Now there's a bigger skeleton in Hogg's closet that just came out, and it wasn't Kashuv who exposed it. His worst nightmare has come back to haunt him. Now we're hoping that this gun Nazi kid's time of dominating the media is finally over and we don't have to hear from him again. Steven Crowder from Louder with Crowder reports what one Parkland survivor whose sister died in the tragedy has to say, before anyone goes #SaveDiaClick, no. This time it's someone other than Kyle Kashuv calling out Lil Hogg. Take a minute to recap the David Hogg/Laura Ingraham feud. Let's start off from Hogg rejecting her apology. I don't care how young you are. If you're old enough to have a big boy opinion, you're old enough to get criticized for it. A point made by another Parkland survivor, Patrick Petty, who has been speaking out after his sister was one of the victims of the tragic shooting. Sadly, Patrick and his father Ryan aren't as much as household names. They don't fit the left anti-NRA narrative. Also, they are two guys working toward making positive changes. Here's the bottom line: if you're going to be nasty and vile to people, expect them to be nasty and vile back. I'm rubber, you're glue, etc. Public political discourse isn't pretty. It's not always civil, polite. So people mocking each other, throwing mud, stones, and high-capacity clips for semi-automatic submachine guns is normal. Don't act all hurty about it when it finally catches up to you, a person making hay in the anti-gun news. So, what does a child shill for the left's gun control do to have a little innocent fun on spring break? Well, not what you'd think. The days of teens spending a week at the beach enjoying their youth is gone. Liberals have created young militants for their cause, and David Hogg is happy to oblige. Instead of soaking up the sun and fun, he took in as many media opportunities as he could, capitalizing on the left's cause that he's being used to push and to get the most out of his 15 minutes of fame that have gone on too long. While Hogg could have been having fun and enjoying his final months of his youth, he was mindlessly following along with the agenda he was manipulated into with promises of fame and notoriety. On his checklist of chores to perpetuate his platform was to dismantle Fox News professional journalist Laura Ingraham's reputation. Instead of sun and fun, Hogg called for sponsors Ingram's show to abandon her for not supporting him, as an intentional blow to her finances for how she used her First Amendment right to compare to his. Sadly, this teen's ignorant declaration proved to be effective, and the host's advertisers systematically and ceremoniously backed out in droves. Ingram decided to break from the adolescent debauchery and vacation time, for which she was slammed again. Rather than responding with more hate and divisiveness, she was professional, but that's not what Hogg and the hordes of his other detractors wanted. We hope that Hogg pays a price for ruining this woman's career by being forgotten in infamy before he's able to achieve the news ranks she did. At this rate, he will, given that he's become increasingly more obnoxious and irrelevant even to those who use him for their cause and are now ready to dispense of him.